Hello, once again, one and all, and welcome to Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. What is Neverwinter Nights? For those people, there are actually, who are quite a few actually, gonna have to admit, I don't know what this game is. It is a D&D game, like Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate. There are a lot of these style games, but for me personally, Neverwinter Nights is my first. Thus, I am very biased. So what am I doing here? Well, to be fair, I am just going to I'm going to eventually do a playthrough of both games. But I'm doing here is basically just explaining the classes as I go. And this is basically going to be just a kind of listing all the classes off as I go. Don't mind any of this. I'll do these in later videos. Where's my faceless boy? There's my faceless boy. Classes. Oh, nope, wrong button. Classes. Okay. Going from the top. Actually, we're going the easiest to the hardest. Easiest, cleric. You are a fighter with divine spells. You can wear heavy armor and cast spells. And if your spells, you get. Basically, you have your divine spells, which you get for free, and then you get your domain spells, which are from your cleric domain, like fire, war, undeath, and stuff like that, which give you access to specific spells and specific unique abilities. This makes cleric very, very effective at self-buffing or dealing decent amount of damage. But self-buffing is one of the best ways to play cleric because you get access to some really good self-buffs and some AoE debuffs as well, which are phenomenal. But where clerics shine, killing undead. Turn undead is the most ridiculous ability in the normal campaign. It basically is an AoE centered around you, and it takes your wisdom modifier and fight. And basically, if the undead don't save, it instantly kills them. If an undead saves, it fears them, and this can affect multiple targets at once. Which, to be fair, in the base campaign and Shadows of the Undertide, you fight quite a few undead, thus making cleric the easiest class to play through both of those on. Now, Hordes of the Underdark, which is kind of the end tier module, is a bit different. Cleric is still very, very strong. Sadly, you only get access to simple weapons, but you can also take a feat to grab martial weapons, which, again, not horrible. You really are kind of limited on skill points, as you can see, 2 plus your int modifier. And since you don't int all that often, you're gonna have very few skill points, so you're gonna have to be very careful how you use those. Concentration is a must, especially if you're melee, because concentration helps you cast your spells in melee and helps you from getting knocked out of them. Because even though you can cast in heavy armor without the arcane spell failure, getting smacked by a big pointy metal stick can still distract you. Second easiest class on the list, Monk. Monk, oh my gentle Jesus, is stupidly fun. Sadly, you don't get access to spells unless you cross multi-class into Druid, which I'll explain that. That'll be in a multi-class video I do. Basically, unarmed Akamas, you get access to some ridiculous bonuses. You can't wear armor, but your armor class is increased by the clothes you wear, which monk-specific armor is pretty effective. There's a robe that gives you haste, and monk plus haste equals that one scene from Ip Man 3, where he's just pummeling people rapidly, and it is glorious. You get immunities to some things, adamantium body or adamantium soul. Just you get so many self buffs that make you just lethal in combat. You're almost impossible to hit, and you just punch the shit out of things. And then you turn on Flurry of Blows, you just become a fisting machine gun. You're welcome for that, mental image. But it doesn't have access to spells, and while it does get access to certain unique abilities through key, It's man that punch. It's like playing a JoJo character. You're punching fast and fisting people. Now, third on this list, fighter. Again, plain and simple. Sword and board, two-handed, dual wielding, two-handed weapon. Fighter has a whole lot of things it can do, but it is the basic bitch class. But it is strong. A fighter with heavy armor and kitted outright is powerful. Now, this fighters can lead on to two of the prestige classes, which I will get into. Get into later. Sorry, I've been talking in a high-pitched voice. I'm tired and excited. Next on that list of easiest is going to actually be barbarian. Again, it is basically fighter where you're just using two-handed weapons, but you get rage. And rage turns you from warrior to avatar of I'm going to split you in half with this two-handed axe. Rage increases your stats. It makes you hit harder, and you can't die so long as it's going. You also get really, but the downside is you can't use heavy armor, which is fine. Barbarians are really are good, but also come with a lot of downsides, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But they're really good too. After barbarian, druid. Druid is a divine caster like the cleric, but they get access to a whole different list of spells, which have a lot of offensive spells too. They also get access to wild shape, which basically they can turn into creatures for a time, which can be very easy, very useful. The only downside is you can't cast spells while your shape changed, which is kind of unfortunate. They aren't meant for frontline combat, but they do get really decent if they're ranged. They're pretty good. They're also very squishy, and they must be neutral, whatever. Anything that they are neutral, lawful. They have to be something neutral. Lawful good. I mean, neutral good. Lawful neutral, true neutral. Yeah, it's just that. After druid, I'd say paladin. Paladin is less focused on spell casting. They get a lot less spells, but they get access to smite and smite spells, which are pretty powerful. But again, it's just fighter with extra bonk, which is pretty much what it kind of boils down to. I don't really play Paladin all that much, so I'm not really that well versed in what it's capable of. After Paladin, Rogue. Rogue is not hard to play, is more difficult to play, mostly because of what you have to kind of focus on using. Spells, weaker weapons, but you get access to sneak attacks, which give you extra damage if you hit an opponent when they're basically at a disadvantage. They can also use scrolls and wands if your use magic item skill is high enough, which is really nice. They get the most skill points out of every class, which is very nice because pick lock, stealth, hide, move silently are all really nice abilities. I don't use them though. I don't play rogue all that often. You can be melee or ranged. I don't know if range can get sneak attacks. After rogue, sorcerer and wizard I will lump together. Actually, I will put sorcerer just above wizard, but these are pretty much almost the exact same thing, except they differ on like a couple things. Sorcerers use charisma, wizards use intelligence. Sorcerers can cast a lot of spells, and that they can prepare at will. So they get access to a number of casts of spells per spell casting level. Like you can only use level 1 spells so many times a rest, level 2 spells so many times a rest. But you can basically pick whatever the hell you want to have there, which kind of gives you a little bit more freeform. You're more limited on how many times you can use spell, but you have access to more spells. You can use you have access to more of your spellbook at any point in time. Wizard is the counter. You have to prepare your spells, and if you use a prepared spell and you've only got one cast of it, well, you're out of luck. You can only cast it once. And wizards tend to be a lot more squishy. But both wizards and sorcerers cannot wear any armor because they deal with arcane spell failure, which kind of sucks. Wizards do get access to some useful, they get access to their familiar, which is mildly useful. And at the bottom of the list, because I just don't like, I tried playing it and I don't like it, Bard. Bards are another arcane casting class, but they just, for me, it feels weird. They're a buffing class, and while they are really, really cool, God is playing one painful for me. Now, by all means, you can beat the campaign with all of these classes. I'm not telling you you can't. It's just how I view what's going to be the easiest to the most difficult. And for me, the Bard was the most difficult attempt. I didn't even beat it. I gave up halfway through because I got so annoyed. Now we get to the prestige classes, which are down here. Now, I'm not going to list these off because these are all just super strong. But each one is rather unique and has requirements to get to. Arcane Archer. You have to be an elf. Requires you to be an elf. And basically, as you can see, the requirements, weapon focus, longbow or shortbow, point blank shot, and spell casting. You have to be able to cast first level spells. And then you get access to these spells. Which, this looks like it'd be pretty cool. Not really. Arcane Archer kind of always sucks. It's a fun flavor, but unless you're really gonna die on that hill, good luck. If you're gonna do this, I would suggest Ranger plus Sorcerer or Ranged Fighter plus Sorcerer. Because you get access to some decent abilities and you can get these requirements rather easy. Assassin, you have to be evil, and then you have to have these certain skills set here. And you get... Well, it's more about the stealthy, sneaky stuff, and it requires more on getting sneak attacks, which it really, really buffs up. To the point where sneak attack is already devastating. Adding a 5d6 onto your sneak attack is just horrifying. Blackguard, evil paladin. Quite literally evil paladin with some sneaking. That's literally it. It uses charisma instead of wisdom, but it's also gets access to freaking sneak attacks, which I think is busted if you're a fighter. Champion of Torm, basically Uber Paladin, just Paladin increased in stupidity. Paladin increased Paladin on steroids, pretty much. They also, and as you can see, they get all this shit. Dwarven Defender, sword and basically you are a dwarven battle master. You battle a dwarven battle axe, shield, and you are tanky as all hell. And just, you see all this, you get so fucking tanky. Harper Scout, I've never played this, but you get access to also some cool spells and shit. And the crafting stuff, which I never use. And basically, this is what you do if you go Bard. That's about the longest run of it. Pale-master, this is horrifying. Wizard or sorcerer, focusing on the undead, and you get some really great abilities. You basically become undead yourself. You get extra spells. You can kill things in a single touch. You just get access to so much undead stuff. It's horrifyingly funny. It also makes you a little bit more tankier. Purple Dragon Knight. No idea what this does. It looks like a tanking, buffing thing. Oh, and you also get mounted combat, which I've never actually been able to use. That's a thing. apparently one of the things. This is like specifically for a single module. Red Dragon Disciple, Sorcerer or Bard, and you get access to dragon things. You can basically move faster, armor, breath weapons, really nice. You increase your hit points. You get so much fun stuff. This is actually kind of fun to play with. Shadow Dancers, basically the evasion tank. You can play it stealthy or you can play it as just an evasion tank. Both are effective. Shifter! This is part of a multi-class I will explain eventually. Basically, this is a druid who focuses on their wild shapes, and they get access to some ridiculous wild shapes. You could turn into a chromatic wormlet, baby dragon. You could turn into a fucking minotaur, harpy, gargoyle. You could turn into a manticore, basilisk, or rider. Like, you could turn into all kinds of things up to a dragon. Dragon, mind flayer, it is just ridiculous. And last but not least, weapon master. Crit monkey. That is all this class focuses on is critical strikes. You pick one weapon you're good with, and you buff it out the yin yang. You make it easier to crit. You increase the frickin' multiplier. You just, oh my goodness, it is ridiculous. And you can use key damage to max damage an enemy with your spell. If you play this, each weapon class has its own stats, such as size, which I like using when I play this. You have to roll 20 to get a crit, but if you crit, it has a natural 4 times damage multiplier, which means this times what was +1 would turn to a times 5 damage multiplier. Holy shit! You become the Grim Reaper. Now, normally when you pick this, the default is a katana, which is a pretty effective weapon. But this is a really great idea to go for, like, barbarian or fighter. You could also do cleric or paladin, but it's definitely more suited towards fighter than anything else. So if you go fighter, this is where you want to go. You can also do ranger, I guess, but it'd be a bit harder to get all of these together. And these alone just, oh my god. So, yeah. But, yep, that's all of them. Again, I'll read in order from easiest to hardest. Again, cleric, monk, fighter, druid, barbarian, paladin. Oh, I forgot to mention ranger and all that. Fuck. I'll actually put ranger under fighter. So it'd be cleric, monk, fighter, ranger, barbarian. And ranger is basically you're just an archer, or you can be a dual wielding melee combatant, kind of effective. You basically hate certain enemies and do increased. It's easier to kill those enemies. Then after ranger, rogue, sorcerer, and wizard, and then at the bottom of the list, bard. Bard. I think I did say that right. Let me go for it one more time because my brain fried. Cleric, monk, fighter, ranger, druid, barbarian, rogue, sorcerer, wizard, and then bard at the bottom of the list. You can beat the game with any of these classes. I'm not saying you can't. Just, you're going to have an easier time with a cleric than with a bard. Or maybe some people find bard easier. I don't know. And all these are just really, really strong in their own rights. Just good luck getting to it because it's a pitch. But I'm going to end the video here. I've been talking for 20 minutes. I kind of glossed over the classes. I didn't go into a deep dive. I will do a deep dive on each class as I get them to as I play one. But that's going to take a long time. But that is what it is. And I do hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please feel free to leave a like or a comment below. Like lets me know you all want to see more of this. And a comment tells me with the algorithm. And until next time, I do hope to see you all again. Bye-bye.